Players, it's Zeke here. Today we're going to be playing some All-Star Tower Defense. A pretty basic team. I'm going to use Erwin just because he's still the best buff in the game. Going to use Ichigo. I've got his orb, and we'll go over some of the strategies of how to use Ichigo. He plays very much like BB6, but you got to use a little bit different placement just because his SPA is a lot higher. I've got Gotenks tokens in the game, and he's using the Fire Rage orb. And you're probably saying, why aren't you putting Fire Rage on Gilga 6? Well, Gilga 6 they've nerfed how well the Fire Rage orb can actually work on him. So you can only get a 20% buff on Gilgamesh 6. So I'd rather have the full buff that I can get on Gotenks, and then the Bomb orb only gives him a 6% buff. But the Blue Eye orb, and these are all available in the orb shop, it'll still give him a 30% increase in range. So if I use his largest range, it'll almost cover the entire map. So I just figure he's probably the best to go with for right now. Then I'm going to use dual farming just because these are pretty expensive units. And I'll show you some techniques for getting your dual farming, get your farms 100% pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, as far as getting your farms going early, the trick is, as far as I'm concerned, to spend money as quickly as possible. I'm going to go ahead and do normal mode, just because I'm shooting a video and I want to have the time that it takes to think about what I'm just going to say on the mic. But I place Saber. I don't place Bulma first, because if I place Saber, then she gets her $100 cost orb savings, and I can spend every dollar to get her up to her second level right away. And then the next that I'm going to place is Bulma. But as you can see, I don't have any cheap units to throw down to be my cover, so I got to get up to where I have 1,000 to place a Gotenks pretty quickly. And you see that there's already some troops that are running around coming over here to get me. And I'm going to be placing my Gotenks right in the middle here, because basically his range will cover all 4 of these roads, and that gives him lots of opportunity to attack. Okay. The trick to getting your dual farming going as quickly as possible is to try to spend every penny you can. And I am on auto skip right now. I'll probably turn off auto skip, once things start getting crazy. So right now I don't want to spend any more money, because I know that Bulma's not going to make me enough money if I put my next wave into her just yet. So I'll wait till they're both going to give me enough money to put down a Gotenks right now. I just wait for the auto skip to occur. So a lot of people, I'm sure, are thinking that I was cutting that pretty close, but I've done it a couple times, so I knew what was going to happen. So Gotenks with the firearm on him, actually he has a really high SPA, his really low SPA, his SPA is 5, and he does almost 5,000 damage, so he can hold his own for quite a while. So now we can just concentrate on farming. So what you want to do is you want to pour every cent you can into Bulma, and if you end up with extra money, then throw it at Saber over here, and you'll see how that works to grow your farms pretty quickly. So she needs 750, so we'll just place another one. And as Bulma's costs go higher and higher, you end up with larger and larger chunks of money that can be thrown at Saber. Now, we're probably going to have to take a pause on farming right around wave 13 because there's going to be some air coming through, and if we continue to farm, if we continue to pour the money into Bulma, we might not have enough to upgrade Gotenks to where he can hit air, and hitting that air is pretty crucial to staying alive because we don't have any air units specifically. you can see, everybody that's coming through right now clearly can be wiped out by the 5,000 damage that Gotenks does. Okay, now there's some air coming out. So what we need to do is build up enough to upgrade Gotenks. So he takes 125,000. We need to have basically, what is it, about 4 waves go between the time that they are here to the time that they're in front of Gotenks. And he can hit air as of his first. He has $225,000 upgrades, and as of his first one, he can hit air. So you just need to do his first $125,000 upgrade. And there we go. Alright, so now he's going to take care of that air without any problem at all. I can let you watch and see. And we'll get back to farming. There it goes. We have all sabers are upgraded. Just waiting for a couple waves to go by and we'll have our Bulma upgraded too. Upgrade. So for me, most of everything in the game depends upon how much money you have to throw at the upgrades you have to put in. So farming is crucial, and I usually set up my farms, and I don't consider my round actually having started until I get those farms finished. So as we're finishing up on boneless farms and my farm is now done, this is basically the start of the game for me. And yes, it's already full of enemies all over my screen, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to get down some Ichigo with Orb, because he's my slowdown unit. So he's going to stop all these guys from swarming around the screen. And Ichigo is he's just like BB6, but when I first got Ichigo with the Orb, I tried to play him like BB6. But unfortunately, he doesn't play like BB6. And the reason I say that is because his range is bigger than BB6's, and more importantly, his SPA is a lot slower than BB6's. BB6 is knocking out, I think it's one every 6 seconds. Ichigo is knocking out, he's doing one hit every 11 seconds. And what that means, and I'll show you in a second, is, and I'll even put one down as an example, is that if you play like the way that I always played BB6, and it generally got it really got everybody on the slowdown, is I would play one facing last down the path toward the beginning, like this, and then I would place one more BB6 right here facing first, and I would set him to first. See, you can set him to, first, last, strongest, weakest. And I would set a BB6 to first, facing this direction. But here's the problem, is that his SPA, you can see when he's fully upgraded, his SPA goes up to 11 seconds per attack. So what happens is, he'd knock off a shot this way, and somebody will come in and run all the way out of his range before he can take another shot at that same unit. And so his effectiveness went basically to 0, because he doesn't hit the units he's supposed to hit. But what I've figured out is that because he has such a large range, larger than BB6's, I put him into L areas like this, okay, and I'll upgrade him, and I'll leave him at first, and I'll upgrade him. And you can see he has such a large cone and a large range. Now he can take a shot and have a shot over this direction as well, and he'll capture quite a few enemies. So, and I've found that it works. Like, I end up with, I'm back to where I have my old BB6 level of capture. So then I do the same. So I have this pattern here where he's going last, and he's capturing the whole loop. And then I also go right here, last. And I do the loop. And you can back him up all the way against the wall here, because once you upgrade him, his range is going to cover that entire. So it's going to capture everything from here all the way to here. So you're good there. And then once again, the triangle. So I'm going to go bing right there. Set him to last. Okay. And that is pretty effective for capturing pretty much no one's going to make it through this until level 45. They all get hit by Ichigo somewhere. Okay, so then I come over here, and I'm setting this one up to capture cloners. Basically, once cloners get slowed down, but once they break, they go back to full speed. and so I put this here just to try to relieve that pressure a little bit. And it's not perfect. I admittedly have had I've had cloners get through, or speed runners that just can run through the entire board. It happens every time, but it's more effective than nothing. Okay, so with Ichigo, giving us a little bit of relaxation, now we're able to go in and set up our Erwin cycle. And so let's go ahead and I like to set my Erwins, usually if I have an air, I'll set my Erwins so that I have air coverage here and I have ground coverage here, and the Erwins are doing their cycle in here. So let's go ahead and set that up. Now I don't have any air today, so I'm not going to have anything on that hill, but it's still a basic placement that I like to use. And then I'm going to put them right on the other side of this road, and know that it's going to get back to the first two. Alright. So now we come to where to place our various units. Now here's the thing is, I think I've figured out that probably the best placement for Gilgamesh 6 is actually right in here, and I just ruined that possibility for this round. But I like to place my Gotenks centrally, and so that's, I'm going to go ahead and place them right in here. And that way, basically, they can get them coming and going. So I just thought of something and I'm going to try it. Why not? And that is, I say my best placement for Gilgamesh is right in here, and I already have a Gotenks placed down over here. So why not just place all my Gotenks down over there? And I know that that's a good spot to have Gotenks because it captures 3 roads. see how it works out. Why not? Okay, so let's just make sure we know where our circles are. Alright. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright. Make sure we're still looking good. Now let's figure out exactly where we need to place these. And sometimes what you do, oh well, we already have one, but nope. So let's go ahead and place 2 new ones. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll use the lettering of your title. It just sits over your name the whole time. Because as soon as you click on this, it goes with your circle goes away, and it's hard to line up after that. So if you just line up your letters to where you want to place them and go plop, plop. Alright. And there you go. Now your Erwins are right in the circle that you set up. Okay, and sure enough, there's a nice, it lands right in that spot where I want Gilgamesh to be, right in there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and place Gilgamesh right there. And remember, you can't sell Gilgamesh, so try not to make a mistake as to where you put him. But now let's look at where his current range is. It goes to the beginning, it goes to the end, it goes past the end defense point, and it goes beyond the end over here. So it essentially covers the entire map. So that's what's nice about putting the blue eye orb on Gilgamesh 6. So that's that. Now, all that's left is, aside from the wasted Erwin cycle over there, all that's left is running the Erwin cycle and upgrading Gotenks while we're waiting. Now, the reason I want to go ahead and start this cycle is because Gilgamesh is going to get that buff, and if you're damage farming and Gilgamesh is he's going to start shooting out. Right now he's at almost 4 million per hit every 30 seconds. He's going to go up to about 10 million per hit every 30 seconds after the buff goes around. If you don't know how an Erwin buff works, the one that I use, and it's pretty effective, is just a basic rectangle. You click the first one, and that's going to buff out here, and it's also going to buff these two. And then you click the buff on this one to buff everything on this side of them. And then you watch for you click on this one and get ready. And when that buff disappears, you click this again. You click this, and then you come in here and you click this. Okay, and you just continue to make that Z shape or S shape, whatever you want to call it. So now I'm going to come back up to this one. You can watch as the buff is going to run out. You can watch it just sort of drain, and eventually it does. And you'll see the X's disappear over here, but wait for them to disappear. You must wait for them to disappear because you cannot double buff. You can't stack buffs. Go ahead and get that one, and back down to here. Okay, now let's go ahead and start upgrading Gotenks. X to disappear. For the X to disappear. Alright, keep going on the upgrades. Okay, I'm out of money, so just hang loose for a couple minutes. Let's see, you can see which Erwin you're actually working on just by clicking on them and seeing which one actually is running out. And don't worry about it if you get like half a second late and it ends up being, you know, that they both run out at the same time, because the other two still have a little bit of buff left in them that they're sending to these. So you have a little bit of cushion time. You can see this is just about to run out. Then you watch for this to run out. Then you go ahead and hit the buff. Oh, it's going to be this one. Buff has run out, so you can hit that one. Okay, so the next one's going to be up here. You can see right in here that this is the gauge saying it's still buffing, it's still buffing, it's still buffing. Watch for the buff to run out, and now hit it. Come to this one, watch for the buff to run out, and hit it. Like I said, you can't stack buffs, so just make sure you watch for that buff to run out, because if you hit it early, and I'll go ahead and do it right now, I'll show you what happens if you hit it early, just so you can see. Okay, so the buff watch, this buff has not run out, but this will run out. This runs out, and I go, oh, okay, I hit it. Oh, but now that buff runs out, and now I cannot re-hit it. So basically, I've messed up the cycle for this round. I want to still go ahead and go in here and do Gilgamesh's side to make sure that the cycle isn't broken. Because as long as you just mess up on a button push, all it's going to be is like one cycle that gets broken. Because now I can come back and now I'm on this one, and here we go, the button's about to be active, and I can hit it and they're reactivated, and I come in here and Gilgamesh is about to run out, but I waited a couple seconds while I was talking to you, so there it goes. So now I can hit it, and now the cycle is fine again. Now just remember that you're going to have a couple second wait between this buff running out and the Gilgamesh buff running out, just because of that little lag in time. So here we go, and it'll start to straighten itself out over time as you do the cycle over and over. Okay, so now I have a little bit more money, so let's go down here and upgrade some more coatings. Again, see we're at wave 51, and they're still not even getting past Ichigo. So the fact that he's hitting every character, you know, there hasn't been one character that's come through. It's telling me that pattern of placement is pretty effective at getting a hold of at least, you know, one hit. All it needs to do is one of them hit one character one time to get the slowdown. So if you are shooting for a high wave, then you might want to turn off skip at this point, just so that you can start clearing out the board each round, each wave. And if you are going just for high damage, I tend to leave skip on because it gets large crowds of enemies for Gilgamesh to smash on. And he's pretty effective at, he only does a shot every 30 seconds, but his shot is pretty impressive. Right now it is at 10,337,249 every time he hits. So if he hits a large crowd of enemies, then he will obviously do, the way it works is each enemy he hits with that amount of damage gets added to your damage for the round. And that's why you want to bring in enemies that have a high damage. Like, bringing in an enemy that does like really fast damage, but it's not a high amount. You're not going to see those huge numbers like in the billions as far as your final damage count. And I think that is the last Gotenks to get upgraded. So at this point it's just a waiting game, and I'm going to go ahead and leave skip on. The game will end sooner, but you've basically seen everything I planned to show you today, and so there's no reason to try to extend it for any crazy lengths of time. I'm going to go ahead and set Gilgamesh to strongest, so that he doesn't only aim at the front of the line. That way he'll aim, where there's stronger enemies, and I'll hopefully hit big groups, and we'll see how much damage I end up doing. Which unfortunately I can't. The program I use to record videos happens to put its icon for recording directly over the damage. So I can't even see how much damage I'm doing until I watch the video back. And like I said earlier, this is the first time I've ever tried this weird Erwin placement, with my Gotenks over here. And Gilgamesh here, so I have no idea how much damage to even expect. It's a sort of an adventure for both of us. try to post some more videos with creative teams for All-Star Tower Defense. I also play games on the Switch, and I'll try to post some games on the Switch as well. But this is my first posting, so let's just watch and see how it goes. So far, I think we're looking at a maybe level 68, and we'll see how it ends up going. I think I missed something in the cycle earlier. Gilgamesh and Gotenks, their synchronization is way out. It's alright. Life will go on. If there's a character you're interested in seeing, if you want me to explore how to use them and maybe come on and do a video about how to use them, feel free to comment down below and let me know. I have just about every S and S plus tier character, except for a few that are just unobtainable. I did not play until I got Gift 3, so I don't have the Fire Lord or Fire Chief, whatever his name is. And I do not have some of the other characters that were, special event characters. But other than that, I have just about every character, and I'll try to stay up to date with which characters I have as updates come out, and that way I can explore those characters and try to do a video on how best to use them. Prediction of 68 looks like it's going to be a poor prediction. And I'm not sure how much money I've earned so far, because I told you earlier I can't see my score. But hopefully we're in the, I would expect that we're around 3 billion at this point. Hopefully I'm right. If I'm off, I'm sorry. Maybe to myself. By the way, all the go tanks are just set on first. Now with guys getting through, I'm going to go ahead and switch him back over to first as well. See if he can slam some of those enemies before they make it through the accident. We have a runner. See if he gets killed, or maybe he's the end. Alright, that's the end. What do we get to? Level 72. Alright. And we'll find out how much damage I get. I guess you already know how much damage I got. So that was a fun round with you guys. Hopefully I was able to give you some insights on how to use Ichigo. On how Erwin works, and some maybe some strategies for doing double farming and making double farming work for you. Yeah.